Hello, everyone. This is Heidi with Downtown NorCal Live, and today I'm going to be introducing you to Megan Likes. She is of Likes Accounting Company. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, thanks for having me, Heidi.
So I wanted to start off with your website. You're greeted by a beautiful mission statement. It says, "We educate and empower small business owners to live more rewarding lives." That's not necessarily what one would expect when looking at an accounting agency's website. Can you tell us about that mission statement?
I kind of pride myself on being a non-traditional accountant, a disruptor, if you will. And I say that I am the accountant that will talk more about feelings than I will about numbers. And as small business owners, we know how much feelings have a role in our businesses. And I also know so many small business owners who are terrified of numbers and they're terrified of money and finances. And so I've realized over the past 15, 16 years that a lot of the obstacles that I'm trying to accomplish when I'm helping a small business with their finances are emotional and psychological. And so we've really tried to reduce and eliminate those barriers where we can. And I truly believe in building a business around a lifestyle. I believe in having a small business that serves you instead of the other way around. Otherwise, it's just a job. And I know, because I have many small businesses, that it is possible to achieve financial freedom while being self-employed. And so that's kind of my mission, is to spread that cause and bring it to other small business owners who might be feeling like they're just really struggling and that they are completely dependent on their employee dramas and their cash flow problems and they were shut down because of coronavirus or whatever it is. Just really trying to help them get through those psychological pains so that they can get some space and get some joy and get some happiness out of that business that they started.
When you and I spoke a while back, you mentioned to me your journey, and it ended up where you actually do specialize in small businesses. You said that you have taught hundreds of small businesses to be more successful in a matter of weeks. Can you talk?
Yeah, I think it's like thousands at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year I helped 2,800 small businesses. I'm an accountant, so I literally count everything. Also, I have a huge philanthropic arm to my business where every small business I help another one where I like to give it back and pay it forward. So I count it so that I can hold myself accountable to the greater mission, which is global, not just local. And I became the government loan expert over the past 3 months, 15 weeks or so. And it was kind of out of necessity because I own Jeff Likes Clean Windows and Gutters here in Davis with my husband. And we went through that struggle. Is this an essential service? How is this an essential service? How can we do this safely? And so we were navigating those loan programs as small business owners. And then I realized that I have this gift as a CPA and an accountant. So I started helping my accounting friends here locally and, across the US so that they could help their clients. And then thanks to Facebook, I started helping these small businesses directly. So I think it's tens of thousands of small businesses that I've impacted over the past 15 weeks at this point. And it's pretty remarkable how rewarding and satisfying that is, because I believe that as small business owners, you're not only helping your own family as the owner, but you're helping your employees' families, you're helping your employees and your staff, you're helping your community. And the more communities we can impact, I mean, that's what it's all about. So.
Yeah, especially right now when survival is the primary aim of everyone. So what is the latest we need to know about those government loan programs?
Yeah, it's actually really timely. I know we scheduled this a week or two ago, but this week we've had a lot of movement going on these government loan programs. So I'm excited to have a relatively satisfying and hot off the press report on both fronts. So when I talk about government loan programs, I've been very specific around the Payroll Protection Program, which is the PPP, and the EIDL program, which is the Economic Disaster Loan Program. So I'm going to talk very briefly about both of them. For the PPP, what's happened this week is we got more guidance from the SBA and from Treasury. And included in that guidance was a simplified forgiveness application form. So this means that the SBA has started listening to bankers and accountants and small business owners who have said this 11-page form is completely unrealistic and not fair to ask us to fill out. These small business owners are working so hard to have compliant businesses that are meeting health and safety standards that they've never had to face before. They're trying to recruit staff when it's hard to recruit staff. They're trying to, just keep their business afloat. We can't ask them to fill out an 11-page application form. That's just not fair. So then they say, well, just lean on the accountants. But the accountants, I'm still in tax season. Like, I'm still working 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week, and I am getting very tired because I've been doing that since January. And normally I should have already been on a 6-week vacation, right? So it's not really realistic to ask the accountants to fill out these forms for them. So then they say, well, let's go to the banks. Well, the banks are processing, 14 years worth of applications in 14 days, and the banks are tired and they're exhausted. And so really, we keep kicking the can, and there's nobody to help with these forms. So the SBA came out, and they have a forgiveness application form that's an easy form. It's 1 page. It's in pretty plain English. And what they're doing is they're really going to rely on small business owners telling the truth and explaining what they use the money for and attesting to using the money correctly. So that was a huge win this week in terms of going from an 11-page form to a 1-page form. Now, I'm an accountant, so I have to give you all the caveats and disclaimers. Not everybody qualifies to get to fill out the easy forgiveness application form. So you may still have to fill out the long form. I do have a hack for that. I'm a millennial, so I have all my hacks. My hack is called ppp.bank. This is a software that was written by Mark Cuban and Citizens Bank. And what they've done is they've made it a plain English wizard where you can answer the questions, and it will pop out the 11-page PDF for you based on the answers to your questions, along with a document list that you need to go gather before you take it to your bank. Now, the banks still aren't ready to accept these forgiveness applications yet, so keep that in mind. And I'm not sure where you guys have left off on your reporting, but we did get an extension from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. So that was huge for these businesses that have been closed and have had a hard time reopening and have had a hard time finding staff. Now they have 24 weeks to spend the money. And another big win this week was if you're an owner operator or a sole proprietor or very small business like a contractor, a week ago, there was really no way for you to get complete forgiveness because it was tied to your 2019 tax return. They have announced this week that if you are an owner operator, self-employed individual with no employees, that you will be eligible for full forgiveness under these new guidelines and standards. Now, the SBA has been dropping like sneak attack guidance on Friday evenings. So today is Friday, June 19th. I am guessing that we will see more guidance tonight, more frequently asked questions tonight. This is constantly changing. So I also like to put the disclaimer that this is what Heidi and I know as of today, this Friday, June 19th at 1:45 in the afternoon. And it may change by tomorrow, but for now, we're really excited about that. So that's the PPP update. The EIDL update is that they reopened the Economic Disaster Loan Portal this week. That portal has been closed for almost 2 months. And they did reopen it in May for agricultural businesses, but as of this week, it's been open to all small businesses. So there are still some, you have to meet these criteria in order to be able to apply, but there's a very streamlined application form through the SBA that we can use. And I'll be sure to drop a link to that in the chat, in the comments. But that should take you about 15 minutes. And what you're applying for with an economic disaster loan is it's a loan. It's not a grant. It's not forgivable. It is a straight up loan. But what its intended purpose is, and this is a loan program that's existed for decades. The purpose is when you've had a disruption to your business, which I can't think of a single small business that hasn't had a disruption to their business. When you've had a disruption to your business, this is a long-term loan, 30 years, very long-term. And it's at a low interest rate. It's at 3.75%. The idea is it can help you with your operating cash, with your working capital. It can help you pay some of these expenses while you're getting your feet back under you as a business owner. And then you can repay it over 30 years, which makes it a really low monthly payment at a pretty low interest rate. Now, there are some caveats to how it can be used and not used, and we're not going to get into that today. But I will share with you the SBA website where you can get more information and where you can go apply for that economic disaster loan if you are having a hard time. I know some small businesses, they spent all their PPP money in 8 weeks like they thought they had to, and they're still kind of struggling to make payroll because they weren't entirely reopened yet. And so the EIDL could be a great lifesaver for you and your business.
For those who did not receive any PPP, were not successful with their original applications, what do you recommend? Is it too late?
It's not too late, and I'm glad that you said that, because I do want to say it looks like the PPP borrowing window, even though there's over $100 billion left in that program, that window is closing at the end of this month. So I would encourage you to talk to a lender, to talk to your accountant. Maybe you filled out the forms wrong, or I don't know why you haven't gotten it, but another great place that I like sending, especially here in the Davis area, is we have the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC. Judy Fletcher at the SBDC is an angel. I mean, she's absolutely miraculous. And she's so good at talking to small business owners about what your options are, and they can help you fill out the forms, and it's free. It's entirely free. It's a government-backed program, so you can have access to your own financial advisor that will help you navigate these situations and help you figure out how to do that. But I would get in touch with her next week, because I'm afraid this PPP gift, and I truly believe it's been a gift from the government to small businesses, it will be expiring at the end of the month. So you will not be able to apply for it after June 30th.
I have businesses that follow me throughout Northern California. So if you're not in the Sacramento region, what is a good option? Or do they have other SBDCs?
Yep, exactly. So it's a nationwide program. So you can go to sbdc. I'll put the link in the comments. I don't want to say the wrong website. But then you can find an SBDC advisor near you. And I know in Northern California, we have really strong programs all over Northern California. So I would lean on them. You may not get Judy, but you're going to get somebody just as great and just as knowledgeable.
Okay, let's talk stimulus. Some people didn't even receive a stimulus check who would clearly be eligible. Is that too late?
Yeah, so stimulus is weird because it's not small business specific. So stimulus is specific to individuals. And there could be a variety of reasons why you haven't received a stimulus check now, especially if you're a small business owner. So here's the most common ones that I've seen. You owe on your taxes every single year. Because as small business owners, we don't have a regular paycheck where we're withholding our income taxes and it's getting remitted to the government by our employer. So if you're self-employed, a sole proprietor, and you're not paying any withholding, and maybe you're a little short on your estimates each quarter, and you've owed, then the government doesn't actually have your bank information to give you the stimulus check. So how they've decided to fix that, if you're truly eligible for the stimulus, is they're mailing checks. And recently, they've even converted to mailing debit cards. And so there's a whole timeline of when they're mailing out these stimulus debit cards that goes all the way until September. So it's possible, if you're truly eligible, that you're still going to get it, but it might take you all the way till September before you're going to get that stimulus money. So if you're needing it sooner, there are some government websites where you can log in, and I want you to be very careful, because this whole situation is ripe for spoofers and scammers and all sorts of phishing schemes. But I will drop a link to the appropriate website into the chat so that you can go there and give the government your banking information so that they can try and do direct deposit of your stimulus money. Another thing that I've noticed with people who haven't been getting stimulus money is maybe they haven't had to file a tax return. Now, this isn't necessarily our small business owners, but maybe you're on Social Security, or maybe you don't really have any income, you're living off of your investment income. So that could be a reason that you haven't gotten your stimulus yet, and you have to tell the government, I didn't have a tax filing requirement, but I am still due the stimulus money. So we'll be sure to give you those links where you can go looking into that. But that's the most common examples of why I've seen delays in stimulus payments.
Okay, so it's not a lost cause. Let's talk the $600 billion Main Street lending program. What are your thoughts on that?
I've not given it too much attention because it doesn't seem to get any traction. I feel like we've been talking about it since March, and here we are in June, and we're still kind of talking about it. This is hard. I just want to say that this is a terrible time to be a politician, and I am so grateful for public servants who are working really hard to keep us safe and to keep us in business. It's been amazing, the legislation that has come through over the past 3 months. Absolutely amazing. We've done 3.5 rounds of huge stimulus funding, and that each of those has taken, moving mountains of politics to make those go through, right? So I say 3.5 because we had the HEROES Act pass, I don't know, what was it, 3 weeks ago? And it passed the House with lots of attention, and then the Senate, it just kind of fell apart. And everybody was really stressed about the PPP window. That 8-week window was expiring. And so they pushed through this PPP Flexibility Act, which I don't think anybody would really call a fourth round of stimulus. But now we hear them really talking about stimulus again. And in those stimulus packages are these Main Street lending programs. The problem is they're huge, huge works of legislation. Like the HEROES Act was 1,400 pages. And to get consensus is really tricky. I feel like I've been living in my high school civics class again because I didn't really understand the legislative process and like, okay, so what happens in the House and then what happens in the Senate and who do we need to do what and by what voting? And then you add in coronavirus and you've got like call-ins and proxy voting and the whole thing's just so confusing. I've never been this plugged into our legislative process. So I'm not saying it's a lost cause. I'm saying there's a lot of things that are being done. and I haven't heard strong murmurings about that passing anytime soon. Yeah, so that's my comment about Main Street lending. Now, there are other options out there. So California has rolled out iBank. If you've not heard about iBank, that is a California-specific program that is helping small businesses, and it is a lending program. The SBDC works really closely with the SBA, who has some really fantastic lending programs for small businesses. We're also seeing lots of grants, like lots of grants. So Facebook did grants, Google did grants, Home Depot and Lowe's have done grants, Verizon did grants, T-Mobile did grants. I mean, a lot of these major corporations are wanting to help small business owners. And like with any grant, it's just an application process and telling your story as a small business, why you should be eligible, why you should be considered, why you need some help. Now, the nice thing about a grant is you don't usually have to pay it back. So unlike traditional loan programs where, you know, I've had to have a lot of financial real health checks with my small business clients because maybe now's not the time to get into more debt, right? You need to be looking, you know, 6 months to a year out to make sure that truly does make the most sense for you and your business. So grants are great options to explore. I know that doesn't really answer your question about Main Street lending, but I feel like now I'm the accountant who just says, I don't know so much. There's so many things I don't know. And yeah, but we're doing our best to stay informed. And I guess I will continue to cross my fingers for that Main Street lending program.
What's the best mechanism for people to find out about those grants you mentioned by corporations? Is it really picking, you know, just needle in a haystack kind of thing?
Kind of Google searches. So just looking for small business grants. And the SBDC has put together a page of the grant applications that they know about. The SBDC also has 3 days a week, they do a webinar about all of these loan programs. I mean, and it's a free webinar. They have been absolute champions for small business, and they've been really helping get financing into small businesses who are really strapped for cash right now. So I think SBDC would be a great starting point. I can put a link into the comments for them. And I think another one would be just looking, I mean, you'd be surprised when you log into like Chase to see what they're saying. And when you log into T-Mobile, what they're saying. These corporations want to help. And I think that that's amazing.
So not to end on a negative note, but let's talk taxes.
Okay.
We're almost there. It is almost July.
I'm in full denial. I mean, this has been the hardest, worst, like from a personal standpoint, just absolutely devastating tax season. And I feel like I've been through some bad ones. But this one, it like never ends. It's never ending. And it's going to end on a horrible note. So next month, the month of July, we have 4 major deadlines that I'm facing while still advising about PPP and EIDL. And like, this is not a pity party for accountants, but the conversations I usually have are around taxes, right? And around bookkeeping and around general business financing. The conversations I'm having now are about lease agreements, bankruptcy, layoffs, turnover, rehiring. I mean, it's like, it's hard and it's heavy and it's exhausting. And I feel like I am not a trained professional in helping navigate these very catastrophic psychological problems. And yet here we are as the small business trusted advisor. That's how I've been advising. In the meantime, we still have taxes due next month, July 15th. We also have 2 quarters worth of estimated tax payments due. So for my clients that I've already finished the tax return, they need to start paying their estimate payments in 3 weeks. And those are not fun conversations when they're very low on cash and they've had very low income. And it takes a lot of time as the accountant to recalculate based on how their cash flow has been going. We also have a sales tax deadline next month and a payroll tax deadline next month. So if you are an accountant who's listening, like, I am sending you a big virtual hug. I am sorry. And if you are a small business owner who is frustrated with your accountant, I'm just going to ask you to give them some grace, give them some patience, maybe consider an extension. I know it feels crazy because we just had a 2-month extension, but the reality is, for me, my tax returns are taking 12 to 16 weeks to complete right now because everything else feels so urgent. Like laying off an entire workforce and needing your accountant to help you navigate that is urgent. Needing your payroll processor to help you calculate vacation payoffs and unemployment responses, that's taking a lot of time. So I'm just kind of like on this mission to help raise awareness to be kind to your bankers, be kind to your accountants, and actually just be kind to everybody. We're all going through a really traumatic time right now, and it's hard. It's really hard for everyone. So we're doing the best we can, and I'm taking next week off to mentally prepare for July so that I do not completely burn out and retire at the ripe age of 34. So that is my goal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of sitting here in awe of you, Megan, and I now know why people, when I bring your name up, they say, oh, I love Megan Likes. And I really want to thank you for everything you're doing for small businesses. It's leaders like you who are stepping up and making our economy work. So I have been talking with Megan Likes. She is a Likes accounting company. Megan, you're going to be putting a number of links in the comments when we're finished. So people can be patient for that, but I really thank you for joining me and hope I can ask you back perhaps after July 15th.
I'd love it. And I'd love to talk about anything else. Like normally my job is very cool, helping small businesses cash flow plan and helping them figure out how they want to grow and scale and still like see their family and make it to their kids' soccer practices and all of that. I love that part of my job. And I've been grieving and missing it because this PPP stuff and idle stuff and bankruptcy stuff, that is not fun. So I'm looking forward to finding the fun again. And I'd love to come back and talk about that with you, Heidi. Thank you for all of your hard work. I feel like you've been one of these champions for small business over the past 3 months, really telling the full story of how hard it is and how hard we're fighting and how hard we're working. And we appreciate you and all of the hard work you're doing. I know that this is volunteer, but it doesn't seem like it. You're doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate you helping raise awareness. And really, I find you inspiring because I love shopping local, and I get to know all the people I love to support because you interview them, and then it makes me want to buy from them even more. So thank you for that, Heidi.
I really appreciate that feedback. Thank you, Megan. Okay, again, we've been talking to Megan Likes Accounting Company. Megan, we'll see you soon, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.
Bye.